Welcome to HSBC Build and Grow, a series that focuses on managing finance for business continuity. As financials takes center stage in business continuity conversations, Your Story together with HSBC is proud to present this series, featuring some of the finest minds in the ecosystem to help businesses leverage the financial ingenuity, perspective, and insights from these experts to power their own journey, their own continuity. Sahil, it's so good to talk to you and have you here. It's in this bad time that we are all seeing, facing, and experiencing. One great silver lining, which we all are experiencing, is this news around EdTech space. There is a tailwind to this sector, and you are building a very interesting and powerful business with Lido Learning. Tell me, what is happening with Lido? How are you experiencing this pandemic? And what do you have to say about the sector that you're operating in?
Different companies solve in different unique ways, which allows multiple players to differentiate themselves and coexist, unlike a lot of other verticals, consumer verticals. So for me, in particular, the small group, like younger kid model, that seemed like a much bigger opportunity, something I could personally relate to. It was a problem I wanted to solve. That's how I got into small group tutoring for younger kids.
One of the things that I think about when you think about any brand or any business is you think about the brand, right? And the trust with the brand. I want to understand from you, how have you done that and how are you doing that with Lido Learning? What are some of the things that you think and measure and track that, hey, we are building a very trustable brand which people love?
Yeah, so I would say the best way that we found, on developing that brand quickly is through referrals. So if for every customer that we have, we can get two others, that has a rippling effect. So what we do look at, of course, to build a long-term brand, we have to show learning outcomes, over time. But as a short-term metric, because showing learning outcomes takes time, as a short-term metric, for us, it would be referrals. So if we get a student on our platform, after some time, we'll talk to their parent, and get referrals to others. And that overcomes, that is the most powerful way to overcome the trust barrier, where even if, say as of today, we're not a very big brand, but if we're being referred by our existing customers to others, that is far more important to them than even if they, see a lot of television ads or other stuff for other players. So referrals, and that's how it is offline as well. Most people go to an offline tutor, usually it's referred by someone to them, and then there's a lot of trust
Yeah.
once that happens. Yeah.
If you had to say that in terms of building the building Lido Learning, how are you looking at it? Is it more, can we say that it's more of a platform where all the, you, like you said, the neighborhood tutor is coming here and teaching? Are you seeing that, or are you seeing it tomorrow? Like, today live classes are so big, or tomorrow you're saying that maybe it could be also a self-learning platform, which would eventually do away with tutors.
No, so that's a different problem that's solved for students. So self-paced learning, we're not in that category. So we're not in self-paced learning. We're in the tuition market, and within the tuition market, there are two different models broadly. One model is, if you look offline, you have your Akashes, and all the large companies in Kota, the Fidjis, Resonances, right? And over there in test prep, there are large classrooms that exist. And then you have the broadcast model, online players who are disrupting that broadcast model, the likes of guys who've done really well with that Unacademy, Vedantu. They built amazing experiences and products over there. And then there's a whole different separate market, which is for younger kids, which is where they go for offline tutoring. And that requires a completely different product offering and service offering, because these younger kids have lower attention spans. You need a more interactive environment. So you need smaller classroom sizes to enable that, not more than 4, 5, 6 students. So that's a category that we are catering to, and within that category, there are many students who, in addition to self-paced learning or as an alternative to self-paced learning, do want that human being who interacts with them, who motivates them, who builds that relationship, who drives them to learn through building that relationship, and keeping them accountable to push themselves outside their comfort zone consistently. So that's the market within the overall ecosystem that we are catered to serving. And then obsessively just double clicking on, okay, for students within that TG, for students who do want a human being to help them learn, how do we develop the best possible experience to make sure that they're super happy and engaged and on our platform all the time. So one interesting stat for us is our students are on our platform for over an hour and a half every day, because tuitions is a regular habit where even offline you go to class every day, and there's a schedule like 4 p.m. math on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, science on Tuesday, Thursdays, English on again Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. So because we're able to create that schedule which exists offline, you can then create that habit. So because we're able to easily get a lot of their time, it's then about, okay, how do we serve them in the best possible way in that time period?
Have you got local tutors who were already famous in their circle on the platform?
Yes. So,
Ah,
so in that, while trying to serve that TG, there's a lot of local tutors, but then there's also a lot of new supply that isn't in the tuition market right now. Because in order to be in the tuition market, you need to be you need to be an entrepreneur, right? You need to still do marketing, sales. You got to build your brand, customer support, in addition to teaching. So for a lot of individuals, although they'd love to teach, the risk reward of being a entrepreneur in tuitions, it doesn't make sense. But if we can take all of that away from them, and tell them that, hey, all you need to do is show up and teach at times that work best for you. And not just that, we'll empower you with a lot of tools which will help you teach even better. Then there's a large supply actually that exists, a very large supply, even bigger and better than what exists in the current supply pool in offline tutoring, that's willing to teach online. So we have different forms of supply that may not even be offline tuition teachers. There are school teachers, college teachers, their moms who've temporarily stopped working. We have retired people who stopped working and with high empathy that are looking to teach. So it opens up a large supply pool, which otherwise doesn't exist offline.
yeah, this I think is the most powerful thing, no? Actually, you are in a way giving also opportunity to a lot of people in a way to be micro entrepreneurs, right? Like, yeah, yeah, without taking the heavy lifting of creating a tuition center.
Yeah, absolutely. And according to me, that's one of the big problems, right, in our education ecosystem. According to me, the biggest problem in education is we don't have enough high quality supply of tutors for several reasons, right? Tutors in India are not paid very well, not even
Yeah,
respected in many cases very well. And we don't have a strong public school system like other countries. Like even if you look at China, US, UK, like there's a strong public school system. Teachers are well respected and paid over there, and there's a large supply that exists offline. In India, we don't have that. So the ability to then actually create a new supply of tutors, train them, equip them, empower them to then deliver these classes, that's something that really motivates us, because that then allows for us to contribute towards the world in a meaningful way and try to have some form of impact.
how do you track outcomes?
Yeah, so the way we track outcomes is we look at three things actually. Within the classroom, after every class, the student has to rate the teacher. And we'll ask different questions. Sometimes it's not even a question, it's just an emotion that they react to, like a smiley face or a very happy face. Right. So one is on ratings from students and teachers. That's one way to track, okay, the student was happy. Students and parents are happy with the teacher and with the overall experience they had in the classroom. That's one. The second thing that we do in addition to ratings is we actually look at learning scores. So after every few classes, we'll have a quiz or a test, and we'll actually see, hey, what is the score of the student? Are they above a certain threshold? And because it's in a live proctored environment, we know that, hey, okay, the kid is actually learning. And that then allows us to also hold the teachers accountable, actually, right? We hold them accountable. Their incentive is based off like how kids are scoring in the classroom. So the second thing that we do is look at learning. And then in addition to ratings and learning, we'll also look at referrals, right?
Yeah.
So when we onboard kids, we do have a referral program, and we'll once the kids are settled in, the parents are settled in, we'll ask them, hey, is there anybody else who you think might be interested to be a Lido student? And those are the three measures, objective measures of success
Yeah.
that we look at. Like those are three things that I look at every morning. Yeah.
Sahil, now that I'm getting to understand Lido learning better, I was just thinking that this pandemic must have been a blessing, no, in a way, because a lot of people still go to tutors. And did you see an uptick in the number of people who were coming to your platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the game really was, well, with any new business, new online business, we're trying to prove to customers, hey, by using software, and in our case, also digital content, we're able to do things which are better than offline because of XYZ. And because you don't have to all of a sudden like make that argument, um, you know, people are just more open, and it's an easier pitch to at least try the product. So because of that, you can get much more adoption, right? Like our CACs are less than half of what they used to be, just because it's just an easy way to get adoption, because offline doesn't exist, and they're like, sure, if it's online, let me try it out. And then once they try it out, that's the main thing. Then you hook them in because they realize that, wow, this is far better than what I had access to. There's a mindset shift, and then
Yeah.
they'll remain with you even if offline opens up, and all of that. So that's a transformational shift with customers right now. And what that then does is, the impact that it has is, one is, of course, it allows all edtech players to scale more easily. And the second thing it does is, because you can scale more easily, your CAC comes down, where otherwise a lot of time is spent in convincing customers to enroll. And because your CAC comes down, what also happens is that your price, if you want, can come down, right? And that
Yeah.
also then opens up new business models. It allows you to do things differently, cater to different TGs in ways you couldn't imagine before. So that also then increases your overall TAM of the market that we can cater to. So yeah, from that standpoint, it's a super exciting time.
You look like an entrepreneur who, who does thing in a proper way, like in a structured way. Tell me something from your last venture, which you said uh, to this. What are some of the learnings that you bring to Lido? Your own learnings that you bring to this venture?
So for 8 years, I've lost a lot of hair. I've had to spruce it up for this interaction, and that's when the best learnings come. Right, it
Yeah.
always comes through uh, making mistakes. And then once you make a mistake, it's very unlikely you'll make it again. Right. So yeah, in my first startup, the way I'd started that in 2012. And when I look back, very basic mistakes were made just in, the way, I thought of the roadmap of the company, when I started that versus when I started Lido, just to make sure that, it starts with, instead of being like, oh, let's start and we'll figure it out, to actually start with, hey, this is how I envision the next 2 to 3 years to be, and then month by month break it down and come back to, okay, this is what we need to do to hit our goals. I think that is a big difference from my first startup to the second startup. And then once you have that, then it's now much easier to scale. Like, if I've been working on Lido for a little over a year right now, and if I look at where we are today compared to my first startup a year down, it was very different, right? So I think the big difference from the first startup to this one is, um, this time we have a very clear plan. There's a lot more learnings also on how to execute on the plan, and we have an insanely good team, which makes it which just makes it so much easier. Whereas back in my first startup, it was still like, trying to figure stuff out mostly by myself. Over here, there's just an incredible team that inspires me me every day actually. Just 2 weeks ago, we had like a product release for a product roadmap for August, and I was like, wow, the things people were coming up with to be implemented just blew my mind actually. So I think those are the big differences: just having a clear roadmap, a clear direction, and then being surrounded by amazing people, to solve these problems and to execute on the roadmap together with. Are the two big differences, I would say, from the first startup, and that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun. And even if you have
Yeah.
to go through ups and downs, it's okay. Like for us, actually, with COVID, we had to make a pretty substantial pivot on our sales team, where we mostly had a field sales model, and then we had to move to telesales. And that's a pretty transformational pivot actually, because it's not just about telling the team, hey, guys, go home,
Yeah, yeah.
pick up the phone, but we have to actually build out the infrastructure to enable that, where we actually had to build out a product to help them try a class for free and then upsell them, and build out that whole customer journey. And the speed at which the team did that in a very resilient way, was amazing. So I would say that those are the two big differences from the first time around. So also losing a lot less hair these days.
No, no, your hair looks perfect. Tell me something. The EdTech is having such a tailwind, and every day, not every day, but so often now we are hearing about the fundraisers and all the money people are raising. What's happening at Lido? Are you raising money? Have you raised money?
Yeah, we raised a round from base capital earlier this year. I was really keen for that round to get on board, Chinese, at least people who had experience with the China EdTech ecosystem. I've seen a lot in the last 8 years in India, and I thought it'd be very complimentary to get a thought partner early on from China, and they've been absolutely awesome. There's KK and Benny. They were working with Alibaba earlier, doing a lot of their deal making in India, so they're familiar with India, and also really familiar with China. And there's a lot of learnings that we've got from there. And also because of their network, they themselves are able to generate so much investor interest that it allows me to also focus a lot more on the business. So right now, we are definitely fundraising actually. As we speak, we're in the middle of a fundraise. We're in the middle of a fundraise right now, and that's good. It'll give us another shot of ammo to do things in a
Yeah.
bigger, better way. So yeah, I think in the next expect to hear a lot from us over the next few months.
Okay, great. What's, Sahil, if I have to ask you, and then of course these things keep evolving, but what's the big dream that you are dreaming and living with Lido?
Yeah, I think my dream when I came back to India in 2012, 8 years ago, it truly was it was a little naive back then because I didn't flesh out in my head, but the mission was how do we truly make sure that every kid has access to education, to teachers, that is equal, to make sure it's fully democratized. So that they can then use that and they have the toolkit to do great things later in their life. I felt like I had that through my maths teacher, and I ended up going down a journey, which I was very grateful for. But at the same time, I didn't have that for chemistry because I was a chemistry PhD. I loved chemistry in middle school, and then in high school, I hated it. I never did it again. So I just got lucky with the right math teacher, and the goal always was, can we ensure that every kid has access to not just an amazing math teacher but also chemistry, English, history, in all aspects. And I think for the first time, I truly feel that we're at the cusp of making that a reality. So that's the dream. There are 250 million kids in India. I mean, very different types of kids across different TGs, price points, different problems that are being solved. But we are also catering to a
Yeah.
TG in that which is pretty large. At least 50 million kids in the TG that we are looking at, and a lot of them want interactive small group learning. So if we can provide what those guys are looking for, that would be awesome, right? And that would be that would really fulfill the vision, the dream of being struggling to achieve the last 8 years.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, talking to you, I feel that one is that you've made such a progress, and the second thing is that it looks, and that's what I said earlier, that it looks like you're thinking through and doing things in a very structured and proper way. So yeah. I'm sure Lido will have an immense and great journey. Last, I want to ask you, we're talking for money matters. What does money mean to you personally?
Money is a means to an end, right? So for us right now, money would be it helps us grow Lido, which hopefully can help us completely transform education, right? It can completely reimagine how students consume education. So it's a means to help us achieve that goal. So I think from that standpoint, it's beneficial. But yeah, I mean, more. I think that's the main value it would bring, at
Yeah,
least for Lido at the moment. Yeah.
yeah. And if I have to say, Sahil, that if you have to share with all of us that, when you look at your journey of the last 8 years and say, hey, this stands out as a learning, uh, which is important. And I wish I had it earlier, but it only comes with experience. And I would love to generously share it with all entrepreneurs and people planning to start up. What would that be?
Say never give up, no matter how how dark something may seem. Like you may not have a logical solution to a problem. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, I've always seen the people who persevere, you always find a way to solve problems and achieve your goal, right? So
Yeah.
so dream big, never give up, and keep trying. I think this is always worked for me, and every time I'm faced with a big problem and I don't have immediate answers to, and my mind is all muddled up, I'll always reflect on like situations from the past where we've persevered and come out strong, and then that is uplifting, and helps, and then brings in like positivity, and then helps us keep pushing and chugging along.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, this is actually inspiring. True. Yes. And last, why the name Lido?
Lido stands for Learning Doorway. The vision of Lido was, can we help students succeed both in the classroom, in school, but also to become leaders of tomorrow by helping them build like real world skills, like problem solving skills, communication skills, technical skills. So it's a comprehensive a learning platform. Lido stands for Learning Doorway. To to
Oh,
to help indicate that. Yeah,
wow. Okay,
it's not,
cool.
it's not the Paris nightclub. I get that. I get that. I get that sometimes from investors, but yeah, it's not that. It stands for Learning Doorway.
Wow. Yeah, beautiful name. Yeah. Thank you, Sahil. This was wonderful talking to you, and all the best with Lido. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Shraddha.